Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I hope that you are having an amazing day. For those of you all who have no clue who I am, first of all, welcome. I'm so glad that you came. Second, I am Dr. Renita, and I am and I'm just so excited to be here with you today. Yeah, I am. I am so excited. Um, I am also an author, a speaker, a mentor, a mentee. I am a queen. I am a national queen. I am to adjust because my computer is doing some really crazy things and I don't even know if you can see me. So I am going to make sure that you can see me. So hi. Okay. So we should be all right. Now we should be okay. There we go. So back to I am Dr. Renita, educational leadership strategist. I am a wife, mother of four. I am a speaker, a mentor, a mentee, a veteran educator, having served grades kindergarten through college. And I am excited to be here with you today. I am also, this is going to be a very unique Leadership Live. So today I was planning to do all of this amazing stuff. Like we were going to talk about the month. We had a great month with Yolanda Makumbe, and we talked about finance all month long. And I was so super excited to talk to you all about that. But the tides have changed, things have shifted, and I have to shift with them. So, what I'm really going to come to you to talk about today is leading in the spotlight while dealing with darkness. Leading in the spotlight while dealing with darkness. So, this topic came along because of a recent tragedy. And I'm not a big person on leading into tragedy or staying in dark places, but I could not help but be affected by the events that happened yesterday. Um, for those of you all who don't know, a wonderful and beautiful woman um, lost her life. And from the reports that we received, it is due to her own volition that she made a decision to let go. She made a decision to let go. And lots of people have been questioning everything about it, questioning everything about it. Um, and, even not wanting to believe that it was true. I'm sure investigations are still going on um, as to, whether or not this is something that truly happened on her own. But all the signs point to the fact that she chose to release her life. And that made me think. And I've had so many conversations over the past 24 hours about how, why. No, this just can't be. She was so beautiful. She was so bright. She inspired so many people. How could this even be a thing? Like, no, it just can't be true. And I had to let those people know, yeah, it could. It very much could be true. And I wanted to talk about it. So people oftentimes look at other people who are in the spotlight, who are very effervescent, who inspire people, who make people smile, who make people laugh, who are looking to live their absolute best life. And they say, oh my gosh, I want to be just like them. Oh my gosh, they have it all together. Oh my gosh, they have the dreams that I wanted. You look at a beauty queen, you look at um, a lawyer, and being young, 30 years old, you have this life. You're living in New York. You're living in this beautiful, sky-rise building. You've traveled the world. You've done all these things. How in the world could you ever experience darkness? Because your whole life is light. Your entire life is light. So how could you be a person who is experiencing darkness? But the reality is that so many people lead in the spotlight. They live in the spotlight. They light up other people, yet they're dealing with so much darkness themselves. Dealing with so much darkness themselves. So I decided to wear this shirt today. And I wear, this one or the other shirt I have this, says the same phrase. I warn them over and over again, and I say this over and over again, but I think that this is a moment where we really need to lean into it. And it says that total, honest, awesome truth. Total, honest, awesome truth. I bring it up today because a lot of times we're not living in that. We're not living in that. We're not showing up in that. And because of that, other people don't understand or realize or even believe some of the other things that are happening in our lives because they don't know that. They don't know that. And if you are even acknowledging or dealing with that, then that will allow and leave way for the possibility for darkness to consume you. Because you got to deal with that total, honest, awesome truth. And I promise you, it's not always pretty. It's not always lovely. It's not always fun. It's definitely not sexy. But your total, honest, awesome truth contains a lot of things, but they are all about you. They are all about you. And you've got to be with that. You've got to understand that. You've got to acknowledge that so you can deal with that. The things that aren't the prettiest things are probably the things that you need to pay in some ways the most attention to, not to harp on, not to lay into, not to say, oh, that's all there is to me, because that's not true. Your total, honest, awesome truth deals with every aspect of you, who you were, who you are, even who other people think you are and who you want to be. But you've got to deal with all four of those pieces of you in order to deal with that. Your total, honest, awesome truth can be a deal breaker for your life. Literally. Literally. Everybody in the light is not living a life full of light. They aren't. So there is a poem by Paul Laurence Dunbar, and I really wanted to start with this, but I could not let go of the fact that we need to acknowledge that. We need to acknowledge that. But in this poem, I think that Paul Laurence Dunbar really encapsulate a lot of our experiences, especially those of us who happen to be of color, especially of those of us who happen to be female, because a lot of times we carry a burden. The burden of being the nurturer, the burden of being the lover, the caregiver, the strong woman. We fall into this a lot of times. But then just being Black in America, we have fallen into this lots of times. We have to deal with this. Sometimes just being of color or being of other, you fall into this. And so I'm going to read this poem to you today, and it is entitled, We Wear the Mask. We wear the mask that grins and lies. It hides our cheeks and shades our eyes. This debt that we pay to human guile. With torn and bleeding hearts we smile, and mouth with myriad of subtleties. Why should the world be overwise in counting all our tears and sighs? Nay, let them only see us while we wear the mask. We smile, but oh great Christ, our cries to thee from tortured souls arise. We sing, but oh, the clay is vile beneath our feet and long the mile. But let the world dream otherwise. We wear the mask. And while we are sitting on that thought, just for a moment, I'm going to make sure that I share because I was so overwhelmed by this subject today. I feel like I've been out of order. I've been out of order. But we wear the mask. I had a wonderful conversation today with someone who, in some way, was going through this whole cycle of disbelief and not wanting to believe that this could even be possible, that this beautiful soul would choose to end it all. That this beautiful person would really believe that the value of their life was so low that it was okay for it to go away. That what a lot of times we see as a very selfish act, to choose to end it all, not with the care or thought of those and those things that we're leaving behind. But I had to remind myself and remind her at the same time that we don't know what mask this person may have been wearing or how thick it was. I think about makeup. You know, I used to think about all these females who wear all this makeup. It's like a pancake on their face. But it's just that they're hiding something. Sometimes it's for film or TV, and I get that, but it's not always. Sometimes it's literally hiding some of the things that we have on us, and we're wearing the mask. Right now, we're in a pandemic where we have to constantly cover our faces and we cover our expressions. We're wearing this mask. But a lot of times we wear these invisible masks as well. But when we wear the mask, people don't see what is behind the mask. And some masks, I think about vaudeville mask and the drama mask, and they'll force you to either have a smile or a frown on. But people really don't know what the expression is behind there. They don't know the things that are happening behind there because we wear the mask. And like Paul Lawrence Dunbar said, we would rather allow them to think of this dream or only to see the things we choose to show them beyond the mask. But we're going to wear this mask because we don't want people to always know what we're going through. We don't always want people to know that we're not meeting their expectation. We live a life of expectations being expected to be met. And sometimes it's a great thing because it pushes us to be great and it pushes us to do great things. And it allows place and space for us to be all the amazing people that we are. But sometimes that mask sucks. And it forces us to do things and be things that we aren't really. It forces other people to set expectations on us that we really don't deserve. And it's not okay and it's not fair that we have to live up to certain expectations, but we wear the mask. We wear the mask. And it's not okay. It's not fair and it hurts. We want people to allow us to be us, but a lot of times we won't even show them who we are. Because we are in this place of expectation. And if we show them who we really are, they don't want to believe that either. They don't want to accept that we're not who they think we are. They don't want to expect that we need help. They don't want to accept that we cannot really carry all the things that they put on our backs. And so we wear the mask to continue to reach the expectations that other people have for us. And sometimes all we're doing is hurting ourselves. All we are doing is allowing ourselves to go to this place of darkness and pain only to meet the expectation and not to falter in the eyes of other people. We wear the mask. And if you are a person who experiences darkness, I can speak from this because I experience darkness. And those thoughts can be overwhelming. And when you're in a place where you can't share that you're going through darkness because nobody would believe that you're not meeting the expectation of what you put out there to the world, then who can you talk to? Who can you release to? And why would you just continue to carry the weight of the mask? Because you have to be that person to other people. In some cases, you have to be all things to all people. You have to be every unique thing, every bright thing, every sunny thing to all people. They're looking to you to inspire them to live the life that they want to lead. And not saying that anybody is being fake. They're not being fake. But they are trying to please you. They are trying to inspire you. They are trying to bring you joy because sometimes that's genuinely how they feel. But do not take that joy in the moment for permanent places of gladness. A lot of people lead in the spotlight while attempting to deal with the darkness. There are so many things that come with expectation. In the Bible, Luke talks about to whom much is given, much is required. If people are given the task of making you happy, and people are given the task of bringing you joy, if you think for a second that that is not both a blessing and a burden, you got another thing coming. Got another thing coming. While it is so honorable to be an inspiration to others, it is tough, especially when people almost have a vision of perfection about you. They expect you to be this perfect being. And sometimes when you know that you aren't, that's a burden all in itself because the expectation of perfection is a tough burden to bear. It in itself can cause darkness because there is no perfect person. There is no perfect person. So even though we see what we see and we believe what we believe and we are excited about what we experience, we have to understand that there is no perfect person. So in order to expect, expecting a person to always be joyful, expecting a person to always be perfect, expecting a person to always be beautiful, expecting a person to always meet your expectation can cause this dark cloud to loom over a person's life. That's a tough thing. That's a tough thing. And so then we have to deal with this ideal of not even settling is not it. And let me tell you all. So I'm a little extra flustered right now because I don't have all my notes in front of me. But we're gonna make it do what it did. Okay. So one of the things I want to bring up is the idea of vulnerability. Vulnerability. So back in week like 30 of Leadership Live, and what's so funny, okay, so just so you know, if you haven't already read Lead Like You magazine for January, February's edition is already being typed, and I've already typed the editorial, and so here's a little inside. This is what it touches. But week 30, I talked to Princess Howell Johnson, and we talked about vulnerability. We talked about vulnerability and the need for leaders to be more vulnerable. But here's the deal. It is hard for a person in the spotlight who has a reputation which sets expectation to then be vulnerable to somehow, some way, sometimes disprove what other people think. Sometimes the feelings and experiences of that person, it would also be something that is unpopular. So they change and they experience new things and they grow. And sometimes the new them and the new pieces of their thoughts and beliefs may be unpopular. So it's hard to be vulnerable in those moments. But even if that person then chooses vulnerability, the issue is that some people will take that vulnerable piece, because if you're being vulnerable, it's something that's tender. There are some people out there who will intentionally take that new piece, that new knowledge that they have, and they will work that thing against you. So you're wondering sometimes why people don't show up authentically, like fully authentically as who they are. It's because they've been burnt. They've been bitten. They've been hurt. And so it makes you anxious about sharing the new thing. It makes it scary to share the new thing when they've been done wrong, especially by people who supposedly are supporters, people who care about them, and they can see it. Sometimes they can see it coming a mile away. But when they choose then to be vulnerable and have that vulnerability or that moment, that new knowledge be utilized against them, then how are you vulnerable again? People say, well, how didn't people know? Why didn't people know? Maybe, just maybe, vulnerability had bitten somebody in the butt before. And they get to the point where they don't want to talk about new things anymore because people don't accept the new thing. It's not okay for that new thing to be a new thing. It's not okay for you to change. It's not okay for you to grow because no longer are you meeting my expectation. So now we're dealing with vulnerability or lack thereof. We're dealing with anxiety, the height thereof. And sometimes all of this together, when you can't even show up fully as who you are because it's being used against you, it can turn into things like depression. Some depression isn't just because of hormones. It's because of experience. It's because of experience. People talk about, well, you can get over that. You can deal with that because we're about to talk about some other things. And I know I said this year we were going to only go 20, 30 minutes, but I lied about tonight because I didn't know tonight was going to be tonight. So get out of that. Go talk to somebody. So somebody else who I saw a post with, it's been so much. I saw a post on Facebook and one of my dear friends said that if it was easy enough to just talk about it, everybody would do it. If it was so easy to just talk about, go find somebody to talk about it with, everybody would do it. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. So she used an example, and I'm going to bring it up here. I'm not going to reveal who they are because they didn't ask me to, so I'm not going to. But I had, once again, another conversation with another person about this. And it's the idea of checking on your strong friend. And sometimes it's even your weak friend that we still don't check on because they're meeting the expectation that we have for them in the moment. So they don't look like they need to be checked on. So when you're wearing this mask and you're meeting the expectation because somebody's expecting you potentially to be very cheerful and joyful and inspirational, and you're doing that, so why do you need to be checked on? Right? Right. So then this friend says, oh, honey, darling, let's go to lunch. Let's do lunch tomorrow. And you look at your calendar because typically with these type of people, a lot of times they're busy and you're busy and their friends busy. They got busy circles. And they said, let's go to lunch tomorrow. And that friend looks at their calendar and said, oh, honey, I can't go to lunch tomorrow, but let's schedule for March. It's January. Because I would be freed up then. I'm in a show or I'm doing this or I'm doing that. I'm busy. I can't. But girl, you got my full undivided attention in March. And that person will say, okay. Because they're not really ready to talk yet. And the lunch would have been the release point. And they could be going through pure hell. Pure hell. And they just needed to have a moment with you. They didn't want to talk about it on the phone. They needed to do it in person. They weren't even ready in that moment, but they knew they were going to be able to gear it up for the next day. And you told them no because you were too busy. And then they make a choice that then you become frustrated by because you don't understand it. But that's because really we don't make the time. We don't make the time. I won't say we don't have it, but a lot of times we don't make it because we feel like it's not enough. Well, I only have an hour here and I really need this. Don't get me wrong. We all have our own burdens to bear. We're all going through our own things. But don't say that people don't reach out. Just because their reach out doesn't meet your expectation. Just because it didn't look like them begging you to do something. Just because they didn't come to you weeping and crying. Don't think that people aren't reaching out. It just may not meet your expectation of what desperate should look like, what depression should look like. Depression walks around you every day with a smile on its face. Depression walks around you every day, or at least is shown to you every day with money, with smiles, with all the things. Sometimes all that's doing is dressing up sadness, is dressing up darkness, is dressing up depression. Because people are leading in the spotlight while dealing with the dark. So then I get to this idea, this thought of support. What the ham sandwich then does support look like? Well, you got all these people, for lack of a better word, faking the funk. And it's not faking the funk because that's not who they really are. They really may be joyful people. They really may be inspirational people. They really may be beautiful people. But don't think that all of that don't make them so flat. They're not two-dimensional, they're three-dimensional, four-dimensional. Some people believe five-dimensional. They have all these dimensions. People are complex. People are complex. So then the question is, how do we really support them? The question is, how do you need support? Do you even know that? And whatever you need, 9 times I'm seeing somebody else does too. But some people just don't know how to call for it. Or they don't have the energy to beg for it. And the question is, why should they have to? Why should anybody have to beg to be supported? Sometimes the thing that's going to get somebody to the next day is you just eating a meal. Sometimes the thing that's going to get somebody to the next day is you cracking a joke with them. Sometimes somebody getting to the next day is you actually answering the phone, because we love to text now. We don't always like to talk. So now I'm thinking about all of these things going on with people meeting expectations. And then part of my job, part of my lot in life right now, that intro I started talking about it. I don't know if you heard it because my computer is acting crazy with the internet. But I'm a wife and a mother of 4. And I have 4 very different children. Very different. And they all express differently. They all need differently. They are all living differently. And they all need us. But they all also are receptive in different ways. Because here's the deal. You can attempt to support as much as you want to. But some people don't want it. They refuse to take it, at least from you. And so maybe you're not the person, but maybe you are. But the thing, that's when you got to go read people and understand that everybody has this thing. They have their that. Everybody has their own total, honest, awesome truth. And if you have been trusted, there we go, to understand and get some of this, that, you still might not have all of it. Don't think because you're a parent or a child that you know either side of that total, honest, awesome truth. There's something you don't know. 9 times out of 10, there's something you don't know. So now being this person who has to inspire and uplift and meet this expectation, and I'm talking about myself right now, have to meet all these expectations to the people outside of my house. Don't think that that's not also expected inside my house. There's a place of expectation inside my house, right? So there's this husband who I promised to God that I would be one with it, connected to. But then there's all these children who my job is to help raise them up in the way they should go. And now I'm dealing with, and one child in particular, who knew about this person and who looked up to this person. And now they get this heartbreak, or they get this unmet expectation now because Now that person's not here. Literally, expectation not met because person is absent. So of course there's legacy of what has happened and what this person has done. But there was also expectation of what could be the possibility for the future. And so now we have to go back and think about all these other people, these little people in particular, who are going through all of these things, who don't have what we used to have. And this idea of human connection is so almost foreign, but it's craved. There's a craving for a genuine human connection that they don't get because they live such a virtual life. So where it existed before the pandemic, but now the pandemic is being cemented that the only way you can connect with some people is virtually, but the real need is for this. I think about babies who constantly need skin-to-skin contact. I still got a 4-year-old who still loves skin-to-skin contact. But when they can't get it, they become desperate for it, and they do these different things. So you're dealing with the idea of the need for vulnerability where you can't always give it so you can truly be authentic. Then you're thinking about anxiety that is lifted because of even that kind of thing. Then you're thinking about meeting expectations, having expectations, depression that now comes in, people not even dealing with or needing to start finding or discovering their own total, honest, awesome truth and understanding that you live your own. And then we wonder why people are like, I can't. I can't. I can't. And so we talk about how selfish it is, but let's think about the possibility that when people realize that they aren't going to be able to truly meet an expectation, and I'm not saying that this is the case in the situation that happened, right? But this is some of my total, honest, awesome truth. Sometimes in the reality and understanding that I am not going to meet people's expectations, and I'm not going to be able to do what I feel like people need me to do, then sometimes it feels like less of a burden to other people. It may be a gift to other people to remove yourself from the situation. And I know that sounds insane to some people. Like, how can you think like that? That's not going to help anybody. Well, baby, you just don't get it. Maybe you've never dealt with the darkness. Not to a place where you really start to alter your thinking that my value may be in my absence. Maybe people need to know what I've done and I don't need to do more, because maybe then you start thinking, maybe then I'll do damage. There's so many different levels to people. So many different levels to mindset. And then so because of who I am and what I believe, so then we're going to take it to here. Then people are like, well, if you only knew God, if you only knew Jesus, then maybe you wouldn't do those things. Your faith must be weak, because then maybe you wouldn't do those things. Let me bring you back to the reality that where we may be spiritual beings, we are living a human experience. And once again, nobody is perfect. There is no perfect human. And sometimes we succumb. Sometimes we succumb. And without the right of everything in that moment, and sometimes we don't get what we need in the moment because we have not been able to release enough information. We've not been able to be the vulnerable people we need to be. We've not been able to be authentic because of all these other things. Sometimes even in your rah-rahing of a person and telling other people about them, you're re-cementing those expectations. And sometimes you just don't even know the moment where you may be doing that and you may be sealing the deal for them like, they said, I'm not mad. Or I used to be, they used to be that. I used to be that, but I can't be that right now, and I can't show up in that way. And if it's enough combinations of everything and it's dark enough, and there's nobody right there who can help shine that light, sometimes it's hard to find. It's hard to find it. And when you can't find it, in dark, dark places, that is the playground for the enemy. It's a playground for the enemy. He waits for that stage. It is a playground for your mind to start doing the crazy things. And sometimes even going against the grain of what you absolutely believe. Sometimes your truths start seeming like maybe they're not true. So then what happens to your belief system? When in that dark place where you absolutely cannot find the light, that even then your truth you start questioning the very things that are true to you. So then what? So then what? These people that you see leading in this beautiful light, the spotlight, and I mean, seriously, have done great things, have impacted the world, have empowered so many people to do so many things. Sometimes there's nobody to empower them. There's nobody to empower them. We talk about pouring from an empty cup. People do it all day, every day. People do it all day, every day. And in the reality, that's the expectation of some people, that you will continue to pour from the empty cup. Some of that has simply been ingrained in us through historical events that have happened. I was speaking with somebody, and we were talking about, how Black women in particular, or Black people in particular, Black women in particular, and this is something that has been celebrated for so long, that they are the strong Black woman. Strong Black woman. Can do all and be all, can carry every single thing, that can nurture and love you beyond everything. Think about the imagery that we see. Think about the nannies and the mammies that we have been shown over the years. And now just the strong Black woman, she's celebrated with her beautiful natural hair and her strong fro. She can handle anything. And while we celebrate that, we get so excited about that. Maybe we need to re-examine that. Because the question is this just a new way to dehumanize a person? That they're so strong that they can handle any and everything. And I mean, everything has been slapped at Black women. I mean, woo! Slap, 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 slap. All of it. All of it. We're revered for certain things, but some of our attributes only are popularized when they are on somebody else or some other type of person. We have not only been able to bear and help with the breeding process of a group of laborers, but then we were also expected to nurture and take care of those who oppressed us and their future. We are supposed to be so smart, but then still in some cases seen and not heard. We're supposed to be able to educate and take care of, but then we're also not supposed to be the person who gets the acclaim, the rewards, the payment, or the spotlight. And when we take it, we're just seeing it as, oh, she's just another strong Black woman. But in that case, are you really using that verbiage to say that I am not superhuman, but I must be something else? I must be this straight up like robotic AI, the other thing, in order to be able to endure and take that much. But the expectation is that I will continue to do it. And all of that, and hiding, and on top of that, wearing the mask and hiding what we're really dealing with. Because we've been taught that if they see us be soft, if they see us break, oh, then baby, they got us. So don't let them see you. Don't let them see you flinch. Because then they've got you. But at that point, if they never see me flinch, and they believe that nothing can ever hurt me, when will they stop attempting to do so? And I can't show you that I'm hurt, because by golly, you're not gonna get me with the get you gotcha. So now I gotta hide all that. So now I'm dealing with all this darkness back here that I have to wait until I get to some place where you won't see it to have this major breakdown. And we do it because it's the only way that we know that we can get to the places and goals and where we want to be. So we're dealing with it so strongly, so beautifully. But we're hiding all this darkness, and then people wonder why. They wonder why you're depressed. They wonder why you're anxious. They wonder why you're worried. They wonder, well, why do you think you got it? Because I do. Because I do have to. In order to reach the goals that I believe that I can have for myself, yeah, I got to do that. At least right now. Because that's the way people have been conditioned to believe that I will be, and I have allowed it. By proving to them, yep, I can still handle it. No, you won't get me. And if you ever do, then people will question everything about you. Oh, she was fake. She was phony. Da-da-da. No, I could never be real. Because I'm a complex being. And that's all right. That's the way we're made to be. If we were made to be simple, we wouldn't have a bunch of organs. If we were made to be simple, we would not be set up in life in order to interconnect with other people. All kinds of other people. We were made to be complex. Yet we try to make it look like everything is so simple. That we are so strong and so mighty, and that there is nothing you can do to break us. Well, we are absolutely crumbled inside because of the spotlight. They can't see that. Because if they do, then I lose this thing called power. I lose this thing called control. But the reality is you ain't in control of it anyway. You're not in control. You lost control a long time ago. You lost control the moment you chose to try to hide everything you had in you. That stuff is running crazy in your body and in your mind. You wonder why you're sick. Because it's running crazy. You're not controlling it because you won't even release the crap. A lot of the stuff that we hold on to, that we stand firm on, that we're standing on in this strength is toxic. Toxic. And then we show a whole new generation of people who that lived inside of us or by us or came near us, and we show them how to do it. And then we create this continuous cycle. It is never okay, and it won't get broken. We talk about breaking generational curses. Honey, darling, that is a curse. That is a curse. That you can never reveal or release who you are. It's a curse. And it's painful, and it's toxic, and it's been going on for a long time. That's what happens. And it's consistently happening to these leaders who are leading in the spotlight, yet dealing with the darkness. And some people are very fortunate to not succumb because they have an outlet where they can be real. Very real. And they have this place and space and people where they can show up fully. Because let me tell you, as a Christian, that is definitely not always the church. Because talk about expectation. Don't fall. Don't fall. We sing a whole song by Donnie Bill Clark, and we fall down. But we get up, for a saint is just a sinner who fell down and got up. But we don't allow it. We don't allow it. And sometimes the church goes beyond the walls. And we wonder why people don't want to join. Because it's a lot of spotlights in church. It's a lot of spotlights in church. And it's hard to be the saint who was a saint. People hear that you're a Christian, or they hear that you're any religious belief whatsoever that has expectations. We wonder why so many people divert from religion. Because you can't be a saint who was a sinner. Whoever fell down and may fall down again. And that's not okay. The whole point of it all is to have opportunities to fix it. If you didn't need to fix it, then why would this be a whole thing? There has to be something that was broken. There has to be something that was broken. There's something that's broken in all of us. Every single person watching this, whether you're watching it live or the replay, I promise you, there's something broken about you. And guess what? It's a part of your beauty. It is a part of your specialness. It's a part of what makes you unique. That screw up that you learned from, you wouldn't know the lesson. You wouldn't know the story. You wouldn't have that blessing if you weren't ever broken. If you didn't ever screw up. If you didn't ever have to fix it. So need not be anxious over that. Your imperfection is what makes you who you are. There's a light in you. In all of the darkness, there is a light in you. When you came into being, that light came right with you. There's a light in you. I talked about this years ago at Refining the Mind Women's Conference 2016. I talked about being a light carrier. You are that. You carry light. And when things around you are so dark, sometimes we don't ever look in because we're so conditioned to find the light outside of who we are. But there's a light in you. But sometimes we can't find it because we don't deal with that. We don't deal with that. And that light is under that. That light is inside. That light is in those experiences. And sometimes we keep experiencing things that we end up forgetting that we ever had light. So I hope this gives somebody the reminder today. And just look in. There's a light there. And it may be covered by crap. Because sometimes we screw up and screw up and screw up and screw up. And screw up. And when we screw up, honey, sometimes some of us screw up to the very end. Like we be right there. And we screw up till right there. But that light, I promise you, it's there. Every time you open your eyes, that light is shining. It's literally the twinkle in your eye. It's the twinkle in your eye. And I promise you, every time your eyes open, it's another chance to fix it. Every time you inhale and exhale, even though I can't do so real good right now because of all the outside, it's messing with this. So sometimes I'm stuffy, but if I can open my mouth and breathe, I'm still breathing. Every inhale, exhale, it's another chance to get it right. Even when it's so dark, if you open your eyes, sometimes you got to look at your own twinkle. And maybe that'll be enough for you to say to somebody, hey, let's go to lunch. Or maybe it's enough for you to say, look, I can't. Sometimes that's all you got to say. I cannot. And that could be, I cannot deal with this. I cannot talk about this. I cannot go on my own. I can't pray about this. Because sometimes when you're going through and you in that dark place, you don't have the words anymore. You don't even have the thoughts. That's because you're in the dark place. Sometimes you need somebody else to do it for you. And sometimes even in your dark place, you are somebody else's light. You are somebody else's light. I think sometimes when we look at these people who are these amazing beings, we forget that they were in their dark place being somebody else's light. Being somebody else's light. Can you imagine? Can you imagine when you close your own eyes? All you see and feel is this darkness. And even when your eyes are closed, you are shining bright for somebody else. And sometimes even that is tough because you wonder why you can't do it for yourself. Know that everybody in the spotlight and the light, sometimes they can't even see the lights on. So I encourage you today. I encourage every single one of you today in your own leadership practice, no matter how big or small, be a light. If for nobody else, attempt to be one for yourself. If you can't do it for yourself, honey, look for it. Look for it. And sometimes you got to look down. Some of us can't find the light because we keep looking up and about, and the light is right down there. It is right down there. Or it's right back there. Seek it. Seek it, ye shall find. Seek it. Even when it's hard. Maybe you just need to have a candle in your room. Shout. Scream. Be vulnerable. Try to encourage other people to do the same. But don't judge when people can't. Don't judge. There's so many things some people could judge you for that they don't know because it's behind your mask. Imagine if your mask fell off. Don't be quick to judge. Don't be quick to judge. So I say all that. I was going to put up the hotline, but I'm going to put it in the comments because I can't because of the computer situation. But get you some folks if you can and be honest with at least one of them. Release that thing. Sometimes we explode from the inside out because we keep everything bottled up. I pray that you find that person or those people. And maybe you got to let bits and pieces go to different folks. Maybe you can't dump it all on one person. All right. Let it go somewhere so it doesn't take you out. We talk about heart attack and heart disease and all these things that go on with our bodies. Sometimes it's just pent up crap. All that toxic mess. Find some way somehow to let that thing go. Defy expectations. And sometimes you are going to blow people's minds. And in their mind is not in a good way, but sometimes they just need to have their expectations readjusted. Quit putting all that on me. Yeah, I'm strong, but I don't have to be all the time. And I refuse to let you force me into that. You will not treat me like I am not a human being. I got feelings and I'm complex while being beautiful and inspiring your life. And that's all right. It's how I should be. It's who I was made to be. It's how every experience made me and guided me to this point. So don't get it twisted. Yes, I can be and deserve spotlight. And that's all right. But don't think that that means that at that point, I no longer can have things that aren't right in my life. I am human and I'm supposed to be. There are things I need to fix. There are things that I deal with. But that doesn't mean I am lesser than to you. It doesn't mean I'm any less genuine to you. I inspire you and I hope that you will then go and do the same. Be real with you. Acknowledge that. All of your total, honest, awesome truth. And then determine what you need help with, that you may need some people with. I believe in Jesus and therapy. God made these people and gave people gifts and blessings. And some of those people are gifted to be able to talk to you and talk you through some things. It's all right. Don't let nobody tell you otherwise. Doesn't make you any less holy. Get your help. Get what you need. Do your thing. But don't judge people who aren't at that place. And it's no telling what the darkness can do when it is fully consumed and there is no light. Know that I love you. I do. I really do. And there's so much more to unpack here. But I've kept you for almost an hour, and I will not keep you longer. But know that you are loved. You are light. There is a light in you. And that many of the leaders that you see leading in this beautiful spotlight are really, really dealing with the darkness. Show grace. Show grace and be loved. All right? That's what I have for you this week. Know that I love you, love you, love you. And I'm going to ask you to literally keep your leadership all the way you and all the way live. See you next week. I'll have a friend with me then. Bye, y'all.